the French Riviera, home to the Cannes Film Festival, playground for the rich and famous from around the world.
For a jet-set playboy, the French Riviera has everything.
British aristocrat Anthony Ashley Cooper asks the psychic how things will go for him tomorrow.
She tells him that yes, he'll be happy, and everything will go well.
Later that night, the English lord will be seen in a hotel bar.
It doesn't take long for police investigators to discover that the Earl of Shaftesbury had some pretty unhealthy habits that he was feeding while he was in France.
Lord Shaftesbury walks away, never to be seen in public again. After 10 days, police changed the status of their missing persons case to a murder investigation.
His body had been butchered and strewn about. Wildlife had eaten his eyes and limbs, and it was a horrific mess at the scene.
It's a sad fate for the Earl of Shaftesbury. From Monaco to Nice, the French Riviera is paradise. There's lots of opportunities to be romantic if the mood takes you.
The area is famous around the world for its annual film festival held in Cannes. The French Riviera is a Mediterranean coastline of the southeast corner of France. There's no official boundary, but it is usually considered to extend from Toulon, Le Lavandou, or Saint-Tropez in the west to Menton at the France-Italy border in the east. The coast is entirely within the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region of France. The Principality of Monaco is a semi-enclave within the region, surrounded on three sides by France and fronting the Mediterranean. Riviera is of course an Italian word, and the Côte d'Azur is a nickname given by France to the county of Nice after its annexation in 1860, because the climate was similar to that of the north of Italy, even in winter, with a sky as blue as the sea.
This is a place where celebrities, tycoons, and world leaders go for vacation. You never know who you're going to meet here.
The Côte d'Azur has been a vacation getaway for British aristocrats since the 1700s, and to this day, the tradition continues. One British aristocrat loves the lifestyle so much that it becomes a second home to him.
Lord Shaftesbury divided his time between England and France, and on this occasion he planned to be in the area for about a week.
November 5th, 2004, Anthony has a nightcap in the bar of his resort hotel.
Anthony Ashley Cooper is no ordinary tourist. He's the 10th Earl of Shaftesbury, public figure, British noble.
Lord Shaftesbury walks away, never to be seen in public again. Anthony Ashley Cooper, also known as Lord Shaftesbury, is the latest in a long line of Lord Shaftesburys that date back to the 1600s. The first Anthony Ashley Cooper is the founder of the British Whig Party. The 7th Earl contributes so much to the lives of the English working class, a statue is erected in Piccadilly Circus in London, dedicated to the philanthropy of Lord Shaftesbury in the 1890s.
It's an impressive legacy to live up to.
The family estate is large. It includes properties in Ireland and France, and a 9,000-acre estate in the Dorset region of England. The family fortune is worth millions. The 10th Lord Shaftesbury is focused on charitable causes, but he doesn't spend a lot of time in the United Kingdom.
Even for the British elite, Lord Shaftesbury doesn't have a typical childhood. His dad marries a chorus girl, but sometime later the chorus girl leaves to marry Douglas Fairbanks, the Hollywood actor.
Lord Ashley's second wife, Francoise Seedy, is Anthony's mother. In 1947, Anthony's father dies of a heart attack. Francois moves back home to France, and it leaves Anthony in an unusual position.
Since Anthony's father dies before his grandfather, he becomes the next Earl.
Anthony splits much of his time between the most elite schools in Britain, Eton and Oxford, and his mother's home in France. In 1961, at the age of 22, Anthony inherits the earldom.
Anthony's mother really dotes on him, and it's only around his mother that he truly feels safe. Even though he has all this power and responsibility, he still remains fairly close to home, especially his mother.
Lord Shaftesbury becomes the president of the Shaftesbury Society, a children's charity founded by his forefathers. He's the chair of the London Philharmonic Orchestra and is a noted conservationist.
The Royal Forestry Society gave him an award for planting over 1 million trees on his estate. He's president of the Hawkenell Trust and vice president of the Butterfly Conservation Society.
But locals say this Lord Shaftesbury could be seen riding a tractor around the estate grounds, more like a farmer than the philanthropist who preceded him.
Even though the Earl does his best to make his community better by using his wealth and power to benefit any causes he can find, this good fortune doesn't equate to his personal life.
Just like his father, Anthony's first marriage is short-lived. But in 1976, he would remarry, and his second wife, Christina, would bear him 2 sons.
In the world of nobility, heirs are important, and Anthony has his heirs. He really has everything, until 1999.
Lord Shaftesbury's mother, Francois, dies in France.
Though it's nice when sons and mothers have loving relationships, in Lord Ashley's case, they may have been just a little bit too close. When his mother passes away in 1999, even his sister said that he seemed to lose his grip on reality. His fantasy life just started spinning out of control at that point. Devastated by the loss of his mother, Lord Shaftesbury becomes very withdrawn. His friends and family are quite worried about him.
Within a year, he divorces the mother of his children and leaves them in England.
At this point in his life, Shaftesbury seems to check out. He's spending more and more time away from home in the vacation atmosphere of the French Riviera.
Anthony finds new love in Cannes, also a divorcee with 2 children, Jamila Mbarek.
Jamila always wanted to be an actress, but she had a very abusive childhood. She was abused by her father. She ended up, unfortunately, getting into sex work when she was only 17. After a Playboy spread, she gained some notoriety and was actually able to become a very high-paid escort in one of the top escort agencies in the country. It's a whirlwind romance. Here's this beautiful woman, and she seems to really like him.
In In 2002, Jamila informs Anthony that she is pregnant.
The Earl does the noble thing. He asks to marry her, and that will make her the future Countess of Shaftesbury.
Born in France to a Moroccan father and Tunisian mother, Jamila is one of 7 children.
Her father is abusive, so her mother takes the children to Tunisia when Jamila is only 6 years old. She ends up spending most of her childhood there.
After spending time as a student in Switzerland and Paris, Jamila marries a Dutch businessman who is the father of her 2 children.
After they split, Jamila makes a living as a hostess at a club in Cannes. She also does some modeling, including a Playboy magazine shoot in 1993.
November 5th, 2002. Lord Shaftesbury and Jamila are married.
As a wedding gift, Jamila gets a monthly allowance of 7,000 euros and a holiday home in a converted windmill, along with 2 serving staff.
November 6, 2004. Police receive a phone call from Lord Shaftesbury's attorney and another from a woman, both claiming the Earl has gone missing.
Police discover that Lord Shaftesbury had told friends that he was going to be in France for a week, but oddly, he hadn't booked a return flight.
Police look into the final hours leading up to Lord Shaftesbury's disappearance. The night before he goes missing, Lord Shaftesbury visits a psychic.
He's there to ask the psychic whether or not he should divorce Jamila. She tells him that yes, he should, he'll be happy, and everything will go well.
Lord Shaftesbury, on his 2nd wedding anniversary, plans to visit Jamila and seek a divorce. A 33-year-old cocktail waitress named Nadia tells police she is in love with Anthony Ashley Cooper and they plan to marry as soon as he secures a divorce from Jamila.
Nadia says she's pregnant with Lord Shaftesbury's child.
It doesn't take long for police investigators to discover that the Earl of Shaftesbury had some pretty unhealthy habits that he was feeding while he was in France.
Lord Shaftesbury's lifestyle was anything but noble, and now police believe it may have something to do with his disappearance.
No one predicts Lord Shaftesbury is about to meet his fate. In 2004, the French Riviera, a sun-drenched vacation paradise for the rich and famous, including the 10th Earl of Shaftesbury, Anthony Ashley Cooper. When the beloved British noble goes missing, French police uncover puzzling behavior leading up to the disappearance.
Lord Ashley wants to meet to discuss their divorce settlement, and Jamila agrees, but when the time comes to meet, she stands him up. Lord Shaftesbury visits a psychic, wanting to know how it will go if he asks Jamila for a divorce, and the psychic reassures him that, don't worry, you'll be happy.
Lord Shaftesbury's current girlfriend, Nadia, tells police he hasn't returned to her as she expects. While family and employees in England expect Lord Shaftesbury home in a week, he hasn't booked a return flight, and Nadia says she is pregnant with his child. They plan to marry as soon as he's divorced from his wife, Jamila.
With the news that Lord Shaftesbury is having a child with the mistress, possible motive is exposed. So investigators will want to speak with his wife, Jamila, and look into her background as well.
Police discover that Lord Shaftesbury is known to locals for having an affinity for escorts, and his wife Jamila was one of them.
Back home, he's a conservationist and a philanthropist, but here, the opinion of Lord Shaftesbury is very different.
While he's in France, his life is essentially filled with sex, drugs, and alcohol.
Lord Shaftesbury is rarely sober by noon, according to friends and associates who called him Tony.
They say that Lord Shaftesbury is always a gentleman to prostitutes, and he often tells escorts that they remind him of his mother.
After his mother dies in 1999, his behavior becomes much worse.
Lucille, a woman that Lord Ashley had relations with, said he was non-violent. The only thing a bit weird about him was his obsession with his mother. She claims that towards the end of the evening, he would ask her to tuck him into bed at night and read him a bedtime story. His favorite bedtime stories apparently were biographies of Napoleon.
Tony abandons his wife and children after his mother dies, spending his money on parties and escorts, until he meets Jamila. Jamila works as an escort for one of the most expensive agencies in Cannes.
Jamila even reportedly indulged his mother fantasies. He was besotted with her, so when she started talking about marriage, she would think he'd be into it, but he wasn't at all on board until she told him that she was pregnant.
After they get married, Jamila insists on being referred to as Countess. She walks through Cannes wearing a tiara and demands to be treated as a member of the British nobility.
He brings her back to England to meet his sons, but the first impression doesn't go well. They can tell right away that she's out to use their father.
Months after the marriage, Lord Shaftesbury realizes that Jamila is not visibly pregnant.
Jamila is supposed to be 7 months pregnant, but she's not showing at all. At this point, Lord Ashley is starting to suspect that maybe she's not actually carrying his child. He confronts her and she flies into a rage. He accuses Jamila of faking her pregnancy, but she says that she got an abortion. Jamila claims that she aborted the child, but she said it was Lord Ashley's fault. She says that he's a pervert, a drug addict, and a drunk, and wasn't fit to be a father. She also started throwing sex parties at the wedding gift department in Cannes.
There's no evidence she ever did get an abortion. The pregnancy may never have happened.
Jamila accuses him of being an unfit husband, addicted to partying and sex. They separate, and Lord Shaftesbury moves into a local resort hotel. Three weeks later, Tony meets Nadia at a hostess club. Nadia says she and Lord Shaftesbury have been together for more than a year. Once again, Lord Shaftesbury's lover declares that she is pregnant, and once again, he does the noble thing by offering to marry her.
They live a simple life together. Nadia says that Lord Shaftesbury had lost interest in partying and wanted more of a quiet life, which is a good thing because as Countess of Shaftesbury, Jamila continues to spend the family fortune.
Nadia tells police that Lord Shaftesbury visits Jamila on their second anniversary to ask for a divorce.
While that's interesting, police decide to monitor both women.
After 10 days, police change the status of their missing persons case to a murder investigation.
After that length of time, investigators assume the worst, but that's all they can do is assume. A murder investigation, which they would have to get permission to undertake, would allow them to conduct a more thorough, in-depth inquiry into the circumstances around his disappearance. A murder investigation would allow them also to explore motives. If it is murder, who would want to kill Lord Shaftesbury? Why would they want to kill him?
Police suspect somebody knows something, and at the top of their list, both women. Lord Shaftesbury's wife and his girlfriend.
When police intercept a call that suggests that Lord Shaftesbury's murder might be a family affair, they finally have a suspect in mind.
Police in the south of France believe Anthony Ashley Cooper, the 10th Earl of Shaftesbury, has been murdered, but they can't find a body. Police begin surveillance on two women, his estranged wife Jamila and his new girlfriend Nadia.
It's a very high likelihood that the person responsible for killing Lord Shaftesbury was familiar to him. So in the absence of any other suspects, it makes perfect sense to focus on Jamila and Nadia.
When Lord Shaftesbury's disappearance hits the news in December 2004, the police admit that they're looking for a murderer. When she hears that news, Jamila goes crazy.
Lord Shaftesbury's wife Jamila checks herself into a mental hospital to cope with her stress. Investigators have tapped Jamila's phone and bugged her room. At the same time, police delve into the past of Lord Shaftesbury's current love interest, Nadia. Nadia is also one of the hostesses that operate out of the infamous hostess clubs in Cannes.
Nadia is still married and has 2 young children of her own when she meets Lord Shaftesbury at a club and he falls for her. Nadia says that Tony called her daughter Framboise, French for raspberry, because his mother loved raspberries.
Jamila claims that Lord Shaftesbury owed Nadia 7,000 euros for his services rendered, and Nadia's husband wants to collect that money. Jamila pointed the finger squarely at Nadia, her romantic rival.
February 2005. Police intercept a call from Jamila that changes everything in the case. Jamila calls her lawyer. She says one sentence, then hangs up.
Jamila calls her lawyer with an interesting message. She says, "I have to tell you something," but then suddenly she changes her mind and hangs up.
This may be a break in the case that investigators are hoping for. Jamila, if she wants to tell something to her attorney, this means she likely knows something about the murder.
Police discover a money transfer Jamila has made.
It's dated for November 12th, 2004, exactly 1 week after Lord Shaftesbury goes missing. It's for 150,000 euros.
That 150,000 euros was sent to her brother, Mohammed.
Jamila actually has another job. In addition to being an escort, she's a hostess at one of the higher-end clubs in Cannes. This is where she gets reunited with her brother, Mohammed. Mohammed used to be a professional soccer player, but he's since turned to a life of crime. He's gotten into petty thievery and is into drugs.
They find airplane tickets under Mohammed's name, but he returns to Germany days before Lord Shaftesbury's disappearance.
150,000 euros is a lot of money. So does this somehow implicate her brother? But they don't have a body. They don't have a clear motive. They have no evidence of anything that may have happened to Lord Shaftesbury.
Mohammed now becomes a corner piece of the puzzle.
Police track a car driven by Mohammed as it travels from Munich, Germany to the south of France.
Mohammed flies home, but then almost immediately jumps in his car and drives back to Caen.
It looks like an attempt at an alibi. I mean, why would a person travel by air only to turn around and drive back?
Police begin extradition proceedings against Mohammed in Germany. Jamila tells police she is an unwitting witness to an accident. She says on the night of November 5th, Anthony arrives at the apartment, drunk and belligerent. When Mohammed tries to embrace Anthony, Anthony backs away.
Here's where it gets just a little strange. Jamila claims that when Mohammed hugged Tony, he ended up strangling him to death.
Jamila tells police that Mohammed forces her to cover up Lord Shaftesbury's death. Instead of contacting authorities, she says Mohammed drags Anthony outside, places him in the trunk of his car, and drives off. Jamila doesn't know where Mohammed disposes of the body.
So why does Jamila transfer 150,000 euros to Mohammed a week later?
It doesn't make a lot of sense for Mohammed to try to blackmail Jamila, especially if he's the one that may have killed the Earl.
Police suspect the money transfer is payment for service rendered. Police arrest Jamila Mubarak and her brother Mohammed. They are both charged with murder.
The investigators have wiretap recordings, which may have some evidence in the form of a confession, but they don't have a body, and it's certainly nothing that would prove beyond a reasonable doubt that something has actually happened to the Earl.
But a dead man's cell phone signal leads investigators to a gruesome discovery. Along the French Riviera, Jamila Mubarak, Countess of Shaftesbury, and her brother Mohammed are charged with the murder for the missing lord, Anthony Ashley Cooper, 10th Earl of Shaftesbury.
None of the stories that Jamila and Mohammed are telling are consistent, but police know they're going to need more evidence in order for these charges to stick.
Mohammed and Jamila both say that Lord Shaftesbury is dead, but police don't know where they have dumped the body.
Obviously, one of them knows where the body is, but they're not talking.
Three months after Lord Shaftesbury's death, police pick up a signal from his dormant cell phone along a riverbank 10 kilometers outside of Caen.
Police follow the signal. It's a well-hidden spot overlooking the ocean, about 10 miles from where Lord Shaftesbury was residing.
Lord Shaftesbury's body was eventually found in a secluded area. Initially, he was identified by the tailored clothing they found at the scene, but for confirmation, They had to use DNA evidence and his dental records. His body had been butchered and strewn about. Wildlife had eaten his eyes and limbs, and it was a horrific mess at the scene.
The glitz and glamour of English nobility in the south of France to this. It's a sad fate for the Earl of Shaftesbury.
Despite the advanced state of decomposition and the fact that Lord Shaftesbury had been dismembered, an autopsy eventually confirms that he was indeed strangled, and that was the cause of death.
Investigators have got cause of death, and they've got suspects in custody, Jamila Mubarak and her brother, Mohammed.
There are still some important questions left unanswered. How did Lord Shaftesbury die?
Jealousy would be a crime of passion and wouldn't necessarily indicate any sort of premeditation. Given Lord Shaftesbury's wealth and the looming divorce, there is certainly reason to believe that Jamila might have a motive to kill her husband.
Jamila says money is what brought Lord Shaftesbury to her apartment on the second anniversary. She says Lord Shaftesbury has become a sex-crazed, violent addict in his final days and comes to her for money because he has none.
This claim may have some merit, as Lord Shaftesbury's sister actually filed court proceedings to take control of his finances shortly before his death.
Jamila claims that his death was the result of an accident between two people who had been drinking, and that her husband was the aggressor. Mohammed says he went to embrace Anthony to say hello and accidentally strangled him.
Neither of these versions of what happened would suggest premeditation.
Detectives believe that money was a motive in this murder, but their idea of what happened is completely different from the stories they're being told.
As part of their marriage, Lord Shaftesbury writes Jamila into his will.
In addition to all the wedding gifts she received, including the monthly allowance and the converted windmill in the south of France, Jamila was entitled to a large portion of the estate as the Countess of Shaftesbury. However, if she ended up divorcing Anthony, she gets nothing.
Also at stake for the Countess would be her title. She would no longer be Countess. Police suspect this is a plot to keep Jamila from becoming a commoner. Knowing that Mohammed creates an alibi with airplane tickets that place him at his home in Germany just days before the murder, they suspect Jamila hired him to kill Anthony.
The alibi suggests premeditation. And what was that transfer of 150,000 euros for? Was it blackmail or blood money?
Suspicions are not evidence. So there's probably still enough here that would create doubt in the mind of a reasonable person, or create reasonable doubt in a court of law. So detectives or investigators need to be able to prove beyond that doubt that Jamila is responsible for the murder.
With the trial on the horizon, police do something unusual to prove that Mohammed couldn't have acted alone.
Police take Mohammed Mubarak on a drive, 10 miles outside of Caen, to where the body of Lord Shaftesbury was found. Police have Mohammed retrace his steps with a mannequin that's 6'1" and 187 pounds, the same height and weight as Lord Shaftesbury.
Investigators would need to confirm their theory that Muhammad would be able to physically carry a 6'1", 187-pound dead weight for any particular distance. So if he's able to do it, it would certainly prove one way or the other that that's a possibility. There is a possibility that it could lead to where the body was dumped. It may give them insight as to what happened to the body. There are other things that may come as a result of this experiment.
Police have Muhammad reenact the transportation and disposal of Lord Shaftesbury's body. The detail that he was able to provide during this lead police to believe that he's the lone suspect at this time in the murder. They had him transport mannequin that was 187 pounds, 6'1", the same size as Lord Shaftesbury's body, during the procedure.
Police have finally locked in on 2 suspects in the gruesome murder of the Earl of Shaftesbury. Only after the discovery of the dismembered body and the bold use by police of a body-doubling dummy do authorities now feel like they have a clear picture of events the day of the murder. But as the case goes to trial, law enforcement believes it has enough to convict Jamila of conspiring to kill her estranged husband. Anthony Ashley Cooper, the 10th Earl of Shaftesbury, meets his 3rd wife Jamila in the south of France. Jamila is a high-priced call girl who tells Anthony she is pregnant. When it all falls apart, Anthony visits Jamila to ask for a divorce. Instead, Anthony is killed by Jamila's brother, Mohammed. Jamila and Mohammed are both tried for murder.
This trial has lots of highly emotional moments which are perfect for the European tabloids.
Jamila cries in court, saying that marrying Lord Shaftesbury was a curse. She says she has no need for his money, but the prosecution disagrees.
Well, the case against Jamila hinges on whether or not police can prove that she was complicit or involved in the organization of the murder of the Earl.
Jamila says she had a long list of wealthy celebrities who were her clients at the escort agency where Lord Shaftesbury hired her.
The names Jamila produces are easily recognized. They're Hollywood stars. But interestingly enough, none of them say they know her, and they refuse to testify in her defense.
Mohammed is removed from court after verbally attacking Lord Shaftesbury's son in court.
This is all great theater, and the tabloids may love it, but it isn't evidence. French law is quite different from the law that we're familiar with in English-speaking countries. French has a civil law system, while English-speaking countries have a common law system. What this means is, in most French trials, the judge decides the verdict and also the punishment.
Can prosecutors prove that Jamila hired Mohammed to kill Lord Shaftesbury? The court hears that prior to her arrest, and while still in the mental hospital, Jamila Mubarak has a conversation with her sister where she admits to having a hand in the death of Anthony Ashley Cooper. It is a conversation that is recorded on the wiretap the police had set up.
Jamila tells the court that Muhammad forced her to be an accomplice.
As part of their recreation, police have Muhammad and Jamila place a 180-pound mannequin into the trunk of Muhammad's car. It's too heavy for Muhammad to do alone.
A completely flaccid, 187-pound dead body would be very difficult for one person to manipulate and maneuver on their own.
For the prosecution, this is proof that Jamila had to help hide the body, and this calls her testimony into question.
While Jamila testifies that it was an accidental death between two men who had been drinking and fighting, she says Muhammad forces her to help him carry the body.
Jamila tells the court that she thought that they were going to the hospital, but the evidence clearly suggests otherwise.
The theory is that the motive for the murder was for her to be able to maintain her lifestyle and inherit an enormous sum of money. Police were able to triangulate the cell phone signal from Jamila's cell phone between the towers close to where the body was found. They determined she was at the dump site 2 days prior to the dumping of the body.
This flies in the face of what the defense has been claiming, that either Jamila was an unwitting witness to an accident or an unintentional homicide.
The court finds Jamila guilty of murder, along with her brother.
Some believe that even though Jamila clearly was interested in Shaftesbury's wealth, perhaps the title meant just as much. And the sad thing is, she will keep the title even behind bars. She will always be known as the Dowager Countess of Shaftesbury.